All right, folks, we are back here on Issues and Answers Friday with Scott Cannon, WLTH 1370 AM. Please give me a call, 219-885-1371. That's 219-885-1371. If you have an opinion about the Ime Udoka scandal or the one we're about to talk about right now, which I believe is a lot more substantive and should be talked about a lot more. Brett Favre. Okay, now that's a name for all of us Bears fans that will always live in infamy because of the way he would come into Soldier Field and mow the Bears down seemingly every year. But now he is accused of misusing Mississippi state welfare funds. Yeah, a man who made hundreds of millions of dollars in the NFL. He is in hot water for his connection to the Mississippi welfare scandal involving the misappropriation of $77 million. Yes. $77 million. Now, Favre, it is important to say that he has not been criminally charged, and he is denied knowing that money he received for different projects was welfare money. But court filings, text messages, and tax records have shed new light on the situation. In the latest development, tax records obtained by ESPN and The Athletic on September 28th show that his charity, Favre for Hope, funneled more than $130,000 to the University of Southern Mississippi Athletic Foundation between 2018 and 2020. The charity was originally created to help charities that provide support to underserved and disabled children and breast cancer patients. Jesus. Wow. Now, this is Mississippi's largest ever public corruption case. It involves money from the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, basically which replaced welfare. Now, on September 22nd, the executive director of the Mississippi Department of Human Services, John Davis, pleaded guilty for one count of conspiracy and one count of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds. The DOJ said that he worked with 4 unnamed conspirators. Now, the 2 nonprofits involved were the Mississippi Community Education Center, the MCEC, and Family Resource Center, as stated by State Auditor Shad White's office from October 2021. These 2 organizations ran a statewide program called Families First for Mississippi. In the summer of 2017, Brett Favre began to ask then Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant for funding for a new volleyball facility at the University of Southern Mississippi, his alma mater, and the same school that his daughter played volleyball at. Text messages from 2017 show Brett Favre asking MCEC founder Nancy New about privacy regarding payments to him. Now this is how you know Brett Favre knew he was dirty, right? He said, "If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much?" Now, he knew he was wrong. He knew he was wrong because he was asking her this question. Now, at this point, Nancy New reassured him that the information would not be made public. The next day, she told him that Bryant, the governor, was on board with their plan. Now, Nancy New and her son, Zach, have pled guilty to 13 counts relating to this scandal earlier this year. According to an audit, Brett Favre was paid $500,000 in December 2017 and $600,000 in June 2018. Now, what was he paid for? He was paid for appearances and speeches at multiple events that he did not even attend. Favre said he filmed commercials for the nonprofit organization, and that's why he was given the money. The auditor later revealed that Favre's contract stated that he needed to give speeches and radio advertisement. Favre gave back the initial payments, but reportedly still owes $228,000 in interest. Now, you would think, okay, after the volleyball stadium, the $5 million volleyball stadium, Brett Favre would be done. But no, oh God, no. This was not the only project that Brett was invested in. In 2019, he also wanted money for a new football facility at Southern Mississippi to help recruit Deion Sanders' son. I mean, I can't blame him for wanting Deion's son, because his son is actually playing for, I think he plays for his father at Jackson State right now, and I saw him a few weeks ago. He looks pretty good, like he's going to be pretty good. But yeah, they wanted the new football facility at Southern Miss to help recruit Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, by luring him with an indoor football facility. Wow. ESPN has reported that Billy Quinn, a lawyer representing Bryant, has said in a court filing that Favre continued to press for state funds, first from the Department of Human Services and later in a legislative appropriation. Now, the governor of Mississippi, the former governor, Phil Bryant, texted Brett Favre that the use of funds is tightly controlled and that any improper use could result in a violation of federal law. Auditors are currently reviewing the use of these funds. That is what the governor told Favre. Now, at this point, you would think Brett Favre would back off, because he has the governor at that point of Mississippi telling him, chill, these funds are, they're watched by the auditor. But Brett Favre put more pressure on Bryant just a month later in September of 2019, saying, we are not taking no for an answer. You are a Southern Miss alumni, and folks need to know you are also a supporter of the university, Brett Favre wrote. Now, the governor writes him back, texts him back, we are going to get there. This is a great meeting, but we have to follow the law. I am too old to go to prison. Well, I guess we'll see about that, Phil. Now, also, at this point, Mississippi Today has reported that Brett Favre briefed Governor Bryant on Prevacus, a pharmaceutical company in which Favre was a top investor in. According to this report, this company received $2 million from this whole scheme. Some of the text messages obtained by Mississippi Today showed that the owner of Prevacus, a guy named Jake Van Landingham, and Brett Favre offered Phil Bryant shares of the company. White ended up naming Bryant as the whistleblower that led to high-profile arrests in the welfare scandal. Now, the Mississippi DHS filed a lawsuit in 2022 against Brett Favre and 3 former pro wrestlers, including the $1 Million Man. You can't make this crap up. You cannot make this up.
Money, money, money.
Yes, money, money, money indeed. So the $1 Million Man and Brett Favre have gotten together to defraud the state of Mississippi Department of Human Services and steal welfare money from people who are struggling. Allegedly. I guess I'd say allegedly. I don't want Brett Favre suing me. Maybe he watches, WLTH's stream on Facebook. This is all allegedly, okay? But it goes to show you what we talk about here on this show every week, how corrupt politics is, how corrupt all of our public figures, our media, all these people are. Politics is a very dirty game, and so much of our culture has become to be about shaming poor people. We shame the heck out of poor people in this country. We tell people that they should work harder. that they are useless dregs on the system. You know, we talked about this a few weeks ago in the Men Who Destroyed America, Bill Clinton chapter, about how for 30 years, both Democrats and Republicans used these talking points to destroy welfare under the guise that there were welfare queens and Cadillacs, mostly, let's just be honest, black women. Because when Bill Clinton destroyed welfare and replaced it with TAMF, what Brett Favre and these people have been stealing from, he made sure that there were 2 black women standing right beside him when he signed the bill to do away with welfare as we knew it. So you have people worth millions and millions and millions of dollars using funds that are designed to help the poor navigate life in one of the poorest states in America. Maybe the poorest state in America. I think Mississippi is either the poorest or second poorest state in America. Mississippi always ranks at the absolute bottom in quality of life, in poverty, the worst schools, people, health. Mississippi is always at the bottom. Them in Alabama are pretty much always at the bottom of quality of life lists here in the United States. And we see that it is the wealthy who are the real welfare queens. Wow. That is something. You can't make that up. You really can't make that up. But let's just be real. This is how it's always been. You saw at the beginning of the pandemic, the airline companies got billions and billions and billions of dollars from the government under the guise that they would not fire anybody during the pandemic or lay off people, separate people from their jobs in the pandemic. So what did they do? They forced a bunch of their laborers into retirement, kept the money so that they wouldn't have to pay the workers. And now there's been shortages of pilots and workers in these airplane companies and the airlines. I'm sorry. Yeah, the airlines. So you've had a shortage of actual workers, even though the government paid these major airline companies to keep workers. And what did they get for this? Well, Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete, gave them a sternly worded warning. That's about it. We saw Wall Street bailed out again at the beginning of the pandemic. But who do we see being blamed for inflation? What do we see being blamed for inflation? Oh man, it's because people got $1,200 and then they got $600. No, they got $1,200, then they got $1,400, and then they got $600. That's why we have inflation. It's not because we injected billions into airlines, into Wall Street, and we bailed them out. It's not because of that. It's always the fault of the working classes and the poor. It's always the welfare queens and Cadillacs. It's never the welfare queens in Washington, D.C. or in the state capitals, these governors, these senators. It's never them. It's always your fault that inflation's out of control. But no matter how many times we bail out the rich and the wealthy, it doesn't cause inflation. If you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. Hopefully Brett Favre gets everything coming to him that he would get if he was that black woman that Ronald Reagan used as the example of the welfare queen in the Cadillac back in the 80s. Hopefully he gets some jail time if he did indeed do this. I say again, allegedly. This is all allegedly. Please stay with me on WLTH 1370 AM. When we get back, happy happies!